You know, like depth of her struggle, depth of her fundamental existential loneliness. Sequels are the best Star Wars, and original trilogies just suck, my bro, if you didn't know. And this storm, like, coming for him, represented by Anton Chigurh. Are you this or you're this? I'm Russian, but of course I don't care about Tarkovsky, because Tarkovsky for smart people, and I'm... what if we had another... Да ёб твой рот, блядь. What if we had, in this shot, it is about fireplace and two people, but in this shot, it's kinda about this boy and his loneliness. Cool, yeah? Yeah, bro, it's cool, yeah, bro. Thank you, bro. Thank you for understanding. Not at all, bro. Not at all. It's fine, bro. Thank you, bro. Hey brother, we're chilling on Shotdeck again, discovering compositions, colors, mood, feelings, and how cinematographic magic is done without words. And we're starting with beautiful Marla Singa from the Fight Club. You know, of course, Marla, and especially this shot, this scene, you remember there slow-mo while she is exhaling the smoke. She became some sort of cultural symbol. And I myself know a couple women which are deeply moved by her character. And they kinda play this role of dead inside, a little bit dirty, a little bit whore. Of course, it's not happy existence, but these women find it romantic. Of course, this shot is nicely balanced. We have this tilted hat and this cigar, this hand, and even this lamp kinda opposing it. Also, there are some rhythmic motion, like the line of the hat, the line of the smoke, the line of the cigarette, the line of the hand, the line of this arm. And also it's interesting that this shot feels very balanced, even though all these lines, as we said, they are tilting towards left. There's a lot of object on the left side of the screen, like this contrast head, this lamp, contrast cigar, this dude, of course our woman on the left side. But it seems like this woman on extreme right part of the screen is enough to balance all of this. And this shot feels like perfectly fine. And by the way, it feels interesting that this cigarette is the only white object in the left part, but there are a lot of white objects on the right. So maybe it also helps to balance the shot. Also, you know, there are some triangle of cold colors, like this smoke and this chair are similar hue and tone and create kind of this balanced triangle. And red things are also balanced, like this ring, these lips, these glasses, and this kind of red stuff on the background, so there's also some repetition. And also these dark blue colors are rhyming, like this jacket, her clothes is kinda blue, and this woman's clothes is also blue. Of course, people's skin tone is also rhyming, as we have three people. And bro, I'm just interested, what if we had another... Да ёб твой рот, блядь. What if we had another warm thing in the shot? Maybe not as warm? Nah, it immediately feels bad, you see? It doesn't work at all. Or maybe we could have just some light distribution. Nah, doesn't work too. Maybe a little bit behind her. Kinda okay, but not as good. And by the way, on the miniature, it's more obvious how strong this contrast, this line, you see? I guess it's nicely catching our attention and guiding our eyes like this. Alright bro, I didn't expect this shot to be so deep, but I thought it just nice babe smoking cigarette, but no, it's deeper than it seems. Maybe that's part of the reason why this shot became so legendary. I'm not sorry. Wow, this one is just amazing in terms of colors. Wow, bro. Maybe I've never seen more pleasant and more warm blue-purple color palette. I love that there's a lot of color variety in this shot. If we're talking about cold spectrum, we have this gradient from very blue and cold to more soft purplish magenta, to deep purplish blue colors. And here on the pillows and on this blanket you can see these blue reflexes. I guess there's additional light source. And also we have some cold accents like these violet flowers, these red clothes, I guess. And in terms of warm color spectrum, we have transition from pinky to more soft orange, to some golden yellow colors, to her more warm skin. And maybe it's reflection, maybe it's another light source, but we have these more heavy orange reflexes here. And hairs here are pretty saturated and deep. Also, I very like this depth of field. You see how softly this gradient of depth of field goes as she moves deep into the perspective. And as you can see, this hand, even though it is extremely on the left side, it feels nicely balanced versus this stuff, this and her head, versus this far right hand. Also I love these little reflections like we have this dominant bright spot. This part of the image is mostly in calm shadows. Also we have shadows here, but in this zone there happened some jumping between highlights and little reflections here and there. So this light creates like this nice curve. Yeah, this shot feels just amazing. So soft and pleasant and so nicely balanced in terms of colors and a lot of subtle color variety, like it is perfect purple shot. And you know, usually this type of lighting feels kinda shitty, but there it is just perfect. This is shot from the bear. Usually I don't like all these tricks with mirrors in cinematography, but this shot is pretty simple yet effective. Like the guy watching at the mirror and he looks kinda tired and sad. And the split kinda demonstrates this inner fracture, this inner conflict, like very simple yet very effective shot. Love this one, love how soft and warm it feels, even though there's pretty cold blue light everywhere. Like this color palette, this weather remind me of something from childhood. Not really warm memories, something like when we drive in third day in a row and it is morning, it is sunrise and it is kinda cold and you just woke up and you and parents, you all kinda tired, but you're smiling at each other and some deep warmth can be born in moments like this. So yeah, this shot kinda evokes these sort of emotions. Even though this shot is not about it, but it kinda evokes. This is cool. I like how at first it seems like there's clear separation, like cold on the left and warm on the right. But again, you can see some warm fog here. This red is kinda warm. There's these warm reflections. And otherwise, cold color kinda penetrate these warm zone, and there are these little cold lights, so there's pretty subtle balance. And also there's some sort of interesting rhythm, like here we have obvious square, but these trees, they placed like very even and they also create some sort of square. And you know, we can see some vertical lines here versus these horizontal lines, and there's also vertical lines versus some horizontal. So it's kinda mirrored symmetrical composition in a weird way. Yet, of course, trees are more natural and chaotic and there are some branches, but it feels pretty symmetrical. And by the way, it's interesting that this girl, I guess, mirrored by this thing. I don't know what's the word for this. And it's interesting how this bright light source on the top mirrored by this bright reflection on the bottom. And also this big, calm, overall bright spot kinda counterbalanced by these a lot of chaotic little light sources. So yeah, this shot is also pretty interesting. Overall, this movie Teen Spirit looks pretty nice. Wow, that's cool, that's cool. Just very pleasant little yellow accent. Little yellow Elfanning accent. Yeah, it also seems something interesting happens with her color coding of clothes. She's pretty visibly switching from red to blue. I will not watch this movie, but I appreciate the effort. Love this one, pretty heavy. Obviously feels like some sort of cage, like suppressed, repressed, depressed. This huge wall that eating like a third of the screen, just pressing on her. And of course there's some symbolic weight because of cross. And like everything so squarish, like this huge square of the wall, this square of the ceiling, square of the door, square of the window, square of the curtain, square of the paintings, square of the bed. And amongst these squares, she and these lamps, like the only natural, curvy, human-like figures, and they are pressed to this little middle space. This one looks interesting. First of all, because of lines, like something very dynamic and tense happens in terms of lines. Like we have this line, we have this line, lines of the couch. This main kinda creates very sharp lines. Also because of the lens perspective is kinda distorted, so we have more strong third point perspective and vertical lines kinda feel more strong. And all of these sharp lines lead us there, to this old man face and this ship. Also it's interesting how this blue floor creates some sense of zero gravity and kinda being unstable. And I guess this rhythm of warm colors kinda amplifies meaning of this ship. Maybe it carries some symbolic weight. So yeah, pretty interesting, pretty sharp. uncomfortable shot. Oh man, I just love combination of red versus blue. I think there's something deeply surreal in this combination of colors. I don't know, maybe just biologically these two colors are not meant to coexist in this one environment, but this bright sunny day and these red colors versus this blue, they kinda evoke feeling of just pure madness, just death. I don't know, cruel death, bloody massacre. Like everything looks pretty peaceful, but at the same time it's so nervous and tense. Maybe just because of the contrast, like red is very aggressive color and blue is the most calm color in this world. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there were no this meaning in this shot, but I feel something like this. Also, you know, composition is a little bit obvious, but it perfectly works. Like we have these guys going towards him, we have this very contrast island near him, this dude also kinda create this serpent towards him, these legs, this stuff, these legs, this leg, all comes to him. And like the final accent, we have these pretty artificial and eye-catchy headphones. And also his pose kinda continues and amplifies all these lines. Like from here we come to his arm, from here we come to his leg, from here we go to his leg, and all of this creates this curve with this island. Looks a little bit obvious, but yet very nice. Oh yeah, this shot, I guess from Tarkovski. I'm Russian, but of course I don't care about Tarkovski, because Tarkovski for smart people and time. I don't know, bro, his movies are cold as fuck, but of course in Russia we have like cult of Tarkovsky and he is just god, and in cinema universities people study his movies, as I know, but I don't care, of course. But this shot is really tense and dangerous and sharp and uncomfortable. Of course, pretty obviously we have some guidelines literally pointing at this boy, and I love how dangerously close and uncomfortable these boards coming towards him. And also, you know, he stays a little bit on the right side and these boards kinda counterbalance it, helping our eyes to tilt a little bit to the left. So yeah, it's a pretty like dangerous, tense composition. It's not for every day, but it works very nice. This is sweet. I like that even though there's pretty obvious shape, it is not extremely clean and obvious. Like for example in Dune, where you have just clean, primitive geometrical shapes. Here it's kinda dirty and kinda broken, and we have this dirty artificial stuff. So yeah, even though shapes is readable, it doesn't feel annoying and pushy. Also, we have strong 3-point perspective, like these vertical lines come to them. Of course, I think it would be better without this thin. Yeah, it definitely would be better. But yeah, catching some geometrical shapes in shots is cool by default. This one, of course, just gorgeous. I think there's nothing more beautiful in this world than skies, and sometimes sky can create so spectacular composition. Like here, it's interesting how skies feel both calm, yet they form very sharp lines. And also this hill kinda shapes this kind of motion. And of course mountains and our heroine come to the left, so there's pretty readable, distinct motion to the left. Both calm, soft, and confident. And of course this bright light spot nicely counterbalanced by these lights in the sky. All the lines go towards left side, but lights kinda opposing them, creating this sort of direction. But also there's this opposing curve of the road guiding our attention to the heroine. This one, of course, is just epic, like extremely dark contrast silhouettes versus these extreme bright lights. And also it feels like these two kinda create one shape, and also they're supported by this more dark segment, and this dude kinda separated by them, and he leaning towards bright side. I'm not sure this movie has this context, but it creates these kind of emotions. Also there's some nice kind of rhythm, like we have, of course, this horizon line, then more curvy mountain and even more curvy clouds. And in contrast to this direction, we have these God rays. You see these kind of lines of God rays, and of course these shadows. So also there are some opposite motions. This one is also interesting in terms of balance, like we have fire a little bit on the left side, and this dude plus these trees kind of create this heavy shape, and it's balanced by more spread trees, but anyway with accent here. Let's for example try to remove this tree and see what happens. And yeah, balance is immediately lost and shot is heavily tilted towards left side. Or for example, let's try to remove this one. And it kinda works because we have these three that balance in shot, but it creates a different mood, you see. In this shot it is about fireplace and two people, but in this shot it's kinda about this boy and his loneliness. Cool, yeah? Yeah, bro, it's cool, yeah, bro. Thank you, bro. Thank you for understanding. Not at all, bro. Not at all. It's fine, bro. Thank you, bro. There's some nice chaos happens from Parasite. Nice Asian alive textured chaos. First of all, I love geometry of environment, that this road comes a little bit down and these have this upward motion. Also, this white cross is very interesting. As I remember, this is a rich friend of our protagonist, and like you see, we have this very bright white sign, we have these white lights in shops and white boots. Kinda representing civilization, being clean, being rich, some sort of this. Just in terms of colors and brightness, it is balanced by this white window, but let's try to remove this bright window and I'm pretty sure it would be worse. I'm not even sure, in some way it became more integrated, wholesome, like more clean without this window, but at the same time without it, bottom part became too heavy. But now overall it looks better without this window, like easier to read this shot. You see how distracting this window in the fact. It doesn't matter at all, just interesting. And also, of course, you know, as Parasite is the movie about rich versus poor, it feels like there's some separation. Warm road leading towards some poor district, poor street, versus this more greenish, bluish, lightish, more civilized part. This one feels just monumental, feels just strong. Little funny rhythm of warm colors, like you see. Some reds and some yellows kinda balanced in the bottom part of the screen. Also, I love this rhythm and different direction of cars, kinda creates perspective, depth, and adds some dynamic in these obvious cityscape roads, obvious perspective lines. And yeah, our hero walks towards a little bit right part of the screen, and cars opposing her on the left. I don't like Mad Max, but I like this composition. We have this huge car silhouette with shadow, with this rock, and all of this obviously heavily guiding our eyes and tilting it to the right. But it's kind of counterbalanced by this hill with this to the left motion. But anyway, car is dominant here. And also there are some additional lines like this one leading to our hero, and this one in the sky leading to him. So in the end it works like really nice composition. But I don't like Mad Max. Oh bro, this is sharp. Of course, just look at this direction of the sky, this direction of the shoreline, and these curves meeting these strong horizontal stable lines. And our woman stays here vertical and supported by this little vertical dude even. So at the same time this shot feels kinda dynamic and stressed, but at the same time stable and strong and calm. Kinda like this one. Of course, it's pretty obvious with these hill guiding lines versus some of these mountain lines versus kinda obvious rule of third, our heroes walking in this like rhythm with this kinda exponentially decreasing distance between them. And of course this composition looks so obvious because it's Marvel. Wow, just look at these colors. I absolutely love this cold, like specular blue roughness reflection on the plants. I love how her red accent supported by this red desaturated grass, and I love how these trees works as like entrance to the frame, and we have a lot of space for her and she's supported by this tree. So yeah, it looks pretty pleasant and mysterious. Beautiful shot from Star Wars. Sequels are the best Star Wars and original trilogies just suck my cock, bro, if you didn't know. Calm, balanced, static shot. This stuff on the left balanced by this stuff. Our heroes are pretty balanced, like this dude creates more heavy shape and you know more calm and roundy shape. And even though red color is more saturated, it is more dark. So in terms of tone, in terms of value, it's not so eye-catchy. And our ray, of course, the center of composition, because here we have the strongest contrast, and here of course we have pretty nice, I don't know, anisotropy, volume distributions, emissions, something like this. And the skies nicely form this kind of vortex towards her. So yeah, like absolutely perfect static shot. This one is interesting, like obviously unbalanced. balanced, and it doesn't feel balanced, it feels purely unbalanced. Can it make some sense for shot to be so unbalanced? Maybe because it's Wallace office and you don't supposed to feel comfortable being here, because these are dangerous android and dangerous maniac, god syndrome, devil-like figure. I'm not sure, I'm not the fan of Denis Villeneuve cinematography, so I'm not the fan of this shot either. Oh bro, this one is scary. This one is both calm and deeply scary. I'm not sure it is the good shot overall. I'm not sure which emotion this shot should represent in the viewer. It is definitely unpleasant emotion. It is heavy emotion. I don't know where this shot comes from, but I don't feel that idea of this shot has to be heavy and kinda scary and frightened and so desperate isolation, because like it's swimmer woman in some sort of pool. It is commercial for Toyota upstream. So in the commercial of Toyota we have these kind of shots. Okay, let's look this commercial. Let's look it, bro. Okay bro. Paralympic gold medalist. Okay bro. Wow. Completely justified, bro. For Paralympic person, of course, this kind of mood has like perfect sense. You know, like depth of her struggle, depth of her fundamental existential loneliness, and I guess there's disabled. Okay, it's perfect art. It's really deep commercial. Wow, bro, wow. You see, bro, it's incredible how just visually you can see some conflict, some controversy in emotion that this shot can evoke, these colors, this mood, but it makes perfect sense once you realize the context of it. And in fact that these colors and this mood perfectly works for idea. Wow, bro, wow. Alright, here's shot from Dune Part 2. Nothing really interesting here. It is Denis Villeneuve like minimalistic, geometrical, empty kind of cinematography, but it's interesting how the rhythm of their like rotation changes, and also of their weapons. And like this dune works as their trampoline, and this rock is kinda inviting curvy motion. So yeah, it's nice, but I don't like Denis Villeneuve, so moving on, bro. Wow. Wow, that's heavy. Wow, that's heavy fucking skies, bro. Ooh. I don't really feel it is a good shot. Of course, it's pretty beautiful. There's some balance of this stuff versus these focal point objects, but overall it feels kinda noisy, kinda heavy. It would be nice to kinda remove or decrease the size of all these things. They kinda too heavy. But I guess it works for idea. I guess this woman holding a child and there's home for this family, for this child, but it doesn't really work as a separate single shot. But I kinda like that we have this bright spot versus this bright spot, and like this dark spot versus something dark here, and surrounded by this contrast of shadow and light, we have our most contrast characters and most contrast sun in the center. But it's not very nice shot. This one is cool, this one is good, No Country for Old Men. Like we have this rare reverse aerial perspective. The farther we go, the darker landscape becomes. Usually it works otherwise. And overall it's nice mood, like there's still sun but it's so desaturated and the storm is coming. This heavy dark storm. And it also has some sort of symbolic weight, considering our hero, what's his name, Lowlit. It is the beginning of the movie and this storm like coming for him, represented by Anton Chigurh. Here we have the movie How to Have Sex, and I don't see any sex. Okay, I see some sex. Okay, I guess I see more sex. But of course I don't care about all this people, real life human shit. I care about shots. And this one is extremely gorgeous. Wow. I guess I've seen this in a little bit different context. Like, yeah bro, like choose your side. Are you this or you're this? Of course in terms of soul I choose the boys and die fucking fighting Mexican cartel, I guess, with brothers. But in terms of colors I'm choosing these. Wow. Of course there's just amazing burning oranges versus these deep blue saturated skies, and we have this transition to magenta to blues, and there are girls and horizon kinda a little bit tilted, and these lines are dynamic, and in these dynamic lines girl kinda creates some opposing dynamic motion. Just cool, just amazing shot. Oh, this is legendary one from Rango. Rango, I don't remember. This one is close to my heart because once I've drew storyboard and I've taken this shot as reference. So I took this thing and I also took like this person entering and casting shadow, but my shot happened in Latin America and there was dead people everywhere. Of course this shot works perfectly in terms of composition. Of course we have this 3-point perspective. Of course we have some rhythm of lighting like big, medium, small light spots. Of course we have contrast of cold blue versus this desaturated burning white warm lighting. Of course this guy kinda opposes our hero and creates some sense of threat, I guess, maybe. But what I truly love about this shot is just this light. I love how overexposed this light and these warm colorful edges. Like you see this warm color distribution, but there's also some blue cold light here on the edges. So yeah, it feels really like both cold and extremely hot at the same time. Great color of light. This one's pretty psychedelic, of course. As I said, this bright red versus nature colors is something crazy, but I don't think it is a good shot. First of all, it's pretty boring in terms of colors. Like we have obviously oversaturated awful greens and this alone oversaturated red, and this purplish red things doesn't feel like support, and composition is pretty obvious, like this road versus this line versus nah. It is a bad shot, it is a bad shot, bro. In this shot there's only one interesting detail for me, like it could feel pretty soft, you know, and like childish, but just look how these sharp cast shadows immediately create more tense feeling. Like, let's check, I feel if these shadows were soft, it would be a completely different feeling. Yeah, you see how immediately it became more soft and harmless without these hard, sharp cast shadow edges, but with them it kinda creates sense of tension. I'm pretty sure it's not pre-planned, they didn't think about it, nobody think about it, nobody cares, but why not? Why not to discuss it, bro? Wow, this one has pretty complex lines. Like, of course, we have this diagonal road with pretty tense turning point. And also this road has this branch. Also, this C line like deeply penetrates the ground. Also, overall motion of landscape is pretty heavily tilting towards right. And yeah, we have kind of this movement. I guess this shadow really helps to kinda counterbalance all these lines. This road doesn't really help much, it's almost invisible, but these shadow stones, they work stronger than road. And also these mountains, these rocks kinda help. But yeah, it feels like this shot is like on the edge of being unbalanced. But it's pretty dynamic for, you know, landscape. Alright, bro, bye-bye. Thank you for being here. That's it for today, my little sweet bro. Cheers, man. Bye bye, bro.